Hi, this is Damien from AtHope, and I am an Axiological Atheist, which is a value theory or a value science atheist. And I'm here with a very exciting guest who I'm very happy to present to you. Could you go ahead and tell us who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Dr. Joe Kort. I have been a psychotherapist for 33 years. The last 15 years I've been a sex therapist, and I've written 4 books, primarily for gay men, gay couples, gay male couples. I wrote a book on LGBTQ issues for therapists, and my latest book is called Is My Husband Gay, Straight, or Bi? It's for women, but it really is for men too, who are dealing with male sexual fluidity. And that's really my work today, is helping women understand and men understand and have compassion for male sexuality, which is all over the map. And I'm trying to provide some permission for men to not have to identify in some box or some category.
Yeah, I really like that. I'm sorry for everyone listening. My voice is totally out. I know normally I sound a lot better. I went to a convention, American Atheist Convention, and a whole weekend talking, so my voice. I wanted to say, though, I really appreciate your stuff that relates to that, because I felt like I've been in this box of gender my whole life that was oppressive, that was shame-based, and because I'm a genderqueer and mildly intersexed, and so all my life I had breasts and nipples in a sense, but I didn't even know. And my family knew, which really made me angry when I found out. They knew my whole life that I was genderqueer and intersex. Were told by the doctor, but constantly kept trying to gender police me, maybe because they knew. And I always felt like that, like you were saying, mine was all over the map. It's not like I'm half this, half that. I'm like a little bit this, a little bit that. I don't like sports. So I really thought it was interesting that your take on stuff, which I agree with, is that it's not a black and white thing. And it's not like everything.
It's not binary.
Yeah. And so
right.
It relates. I relate to that statement totally, because I don't feel binary. I don't feel like I'm fully a man, but I'm not a woman. It's like, but I should just be able to be me. And that's why I really like your thing, is that instead of that me, I have to change to fit the world. It would be great if the world could just understand that I could just operate within it.
Yes. Yep. Right. And so really what's happening is the way you feel about my work, and I so appreciate that, is the way I feel about the work you're doing and other people who are in the transgender or genderqueer community, to help me not think binary around gender. But I do get backlash about the non-binary around sexual orientation and sexual identity, because a lot of my work is about straight men who have sex with men. They're not gay and they're not bisexual. Yeah. They're straight men who have sex with men. I believe that if there are gay men, I'm one of them. I believe there are bisexual men. I treat many of them, and I have many friends who are. But for people to wrap around, when you talk about gender policing, these are, I don't know what you'd call it, sexual orientation policing,
yes.
sexual identity. Oh my God. And so I've been attacked. I actually tell this joke. It's a joke to become a joke. But I'm at this dinner party, and most people know my work. And we're eating, and with friends. And this guy says to me, puts his fork down, he says, Joe Kort, if a guy puts a dick in his mouth or a dick in his ass, he's gay. And then he starts eating. So I put my fork down, and I said, well, what do you call it when a woman has sex with another woman? And I started eating. So he put his fork down, and he looked at me and the whole table, and he said, I call that college. And he went back to eating. And I said, that's not fair, that women get this window and men get nothing. You know? It's not fair, and it's not true. Yeah, it may be what he wants to believe and what most people want to believe, but our culture is being challenged by, there are gay men that have straight sex. There are lesbians who watch gay male porn. There are straight men that have gay sex. There are lesbians who imagine themselves being raped by, play raped, fantasy raped by a train of straight men. I mean, my God. It doesn't all line up.
Right, and that's why I say I really appreciate what you're doing. I'm sorry that you've been, in a sense, sexuality policed. I mean, I feel that the problem is this, for me at least, for me it was a lot about religion. Religion came with the packet that you have to fit this. And in fact, I'm almost sure that's why my family had hid from me that I was really intersex my whole life. In fact, I didn't find out until I went to the doctor, and I asked the doctor, I said, I feel really sexual, and I was a truck driver. I said, I need to have, I see women sometimes, and I have a month of sex, I start crying. I now realize for my wife, it's also because I like relationships with women. It's not just a sexual. But see, once again, it was the only toxic masculinity thing I was offered was if you like women, it has to be sexual. And I liked women more than sexual. So I always felt ashamed of just being kind.
Right, right. That is the kind of toxic masculinity that's out there. We teach boys to have access to only 4 ways of emoting once they become men. Sports, violence, work, and sex. So then they get to become men, and then they're in the therapy room, and the therapist shaming, and the wife is shaming the man because why are you only there and not anywhere else? And I have to remind my couples, it's because that's what we teach boys. This little boy is now a man, and so yes, does he need to learn those things? Yes, but can they accept men for where they're at the same time the men are trying to change? It's really a mutual effort, and a lot of couples don't want that. It's really about helping men, not be who they are. And so, anyways, I'm not really saying that very clearly, but you're right about toxic masculinity. If there's no other room for being kind, for being relational, then you're going to get a different kind of man.
Well, I was violent and sexual because those were the things I was offered, and I was my whole life I was massively violent. And now I realize it's also because I don't relate very well with men. And so I would want to be friends with men. It probably would be to them more like a gay relationship. Not exactly, but I mean how I'm like real caring. I want to hug, but I just want connection. But as you said, as a man, that's not okay. Especially a big man. I'm 6 foot, and look rough, but I'm like real caring and kind. I like acting. I mean, I can be violent, but I don't like that. It doesn't feel. I never felt good till my wife helped me understand how to not be violent. I was scared of myself, actually. I said, I'm afraid every time I do stuff, I'm going to hurt people. And she goes, you don't really have that inside, though. And I go, yeah, I don't understand. Like you're talking about, I was living in 2 worlds. The me that was actually kind, but the violence that was expected.
You know what is a great workshop? I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I highly recommend it. I always tell my clients about it. I went through it myself in 1999. It's called the Mankind Project, the New Warrior Adventure. Do you know it?
No, I've heard of it, but I haven't looked into it.
Oh, my God. It's really a place for men to help and support other men be the kind of man you need to be and want to be, whereas the toxic masculinity is interfering with the relationships and work and sexuality. So it's a weekend workshop. I mean, I'm not here to promote it. I don't get anything for it, but I can tell you that in 1999, I went through it as a gay man, which is mostly straight men at this thing, some bisexual men, some gay men. Right. And it totally changed my life because as a gay man, I was always shut out of the male fraternity, of the straight male fraternity. Right, people talk about patriarchy hurting women. It doesn't hurt just women. It hurts men because it only favors certain kind of men. Exactly. I was terrible at sports. I was a gay boy. I was a sissy boy. I had no access. And so for me, I really needed to be held in a space of men, primarily straight men, who blessed me and said to me that you're a good enough man the way you are. I mean, it's just a really, it's a very powerful weekend, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good point. And I think, too, that even in society, they take gay as a negative, especially gay man is a total, like, if you did that, that's like the failure of all failures you could achieve would to be, and how I felt is, because once I became an adult and I found out in college that you could be, in a sense, there could be different variations of gender. And then I read more, and as soon as I read genderqueer description, I cried. Because for the first time in my life, that's me. Oh my God, that's me. Because all the time I felt alone. I thought everybody else is man or women, and I don't feel like that. And I didn't talk about it a lot because I was ashamed. And plus, I wouldn't even know the words to use to explain. Because I was like, how do you tell people, I'm a man sort of, but I think or feel a little different, but I still only like women. But even how I like them is kind of like, I don't know, sissy-ish or feminist or whatever. It's not.
I know there's no good word.
There's no good word. I don't even, even now, I don't even have the word to explain it because men aren't given that kind of dynamic that they can even do that. Look how women can like hug each other, follow each other in the bathroom, totally normal. And they could be not even gay. And men do that immediately. You must be gay. In fact, what I wanted to honor my dual gender. So that's why my name is Damien Marie. I added the Marie, the female name.
Love it.
You know what's so funny though? My mom, as soon as she heard, I go, hey Mom, I changed my name to Marie, and in the middle, and my middle name, and she's like, Why would you do that? I mean, it was immediately, I was all happy, excited as an adult. I think I was 30-something or whatever. And I was so happy to tell my mom that I finally felt good about myself and so secure that I don't care if the world judges me. And the moment that I told her that, she started judging me.
Yeah, right.
And she said, yeah, but how are people going to know you're a man? And I said, Mom, I'm not exactly totally a man. So if they don't get that confusion, then good. Because that would be correct.
Well, what they're going to learn, I had a trans boy I worked with. I loved this kid. I mean, I love all my clients, but this kid was very effeminate and actually played up the femininity and the masculinity. He was a trans boy. And so his mother asked him one day, she said, if you say that you're male and I want to support you in this, why don't you present more male? Yeah. So he came in my office and he was livid. Now, I have to be honest, I had the same question in my head, but I never asked it because I didn't think I thought it was insensitive, but I wanted to have the answer too. And it was an ignorant question. But he looked at his mother, he said, Mom, this is how this male presents himself.
Yeah.
And so your mother's going to
like that.
question is, I loved it. I almost burst out crying. I wish I had the nerve. For when I was a little boy, my sister was a tomboy, which girls get to be for a period of time. Boys never get to be sissies. So when I was a little boy, I was a sissy. I used to take she has a baseball uniform, and we say here, at least it's tomboy years. When I was a little boy, I used to take her black tights, put them on my head, and sing into a hairbrush, and pretend I was Cher. Cher had that long hair,
Yeah.
And I felt fabulous. My family would come in, my mother and my grandmother, and take the tights off and look at me and say, you can't be Cher, there's something wrong with you. And I wish I would have had the nerve to turn to them and say, this is how this male presents himself. You know what I mean?
I didn't. So much so, you saying that feels super good to me. What I said was, this is who I am. I didn't do it that way. I just said more forcefully because I don't know the architecture of healthy language, especially then. I just got mad. Like, here I was so happy and I was so vulnerable to openly just share myself. And I just hit a wall of toxic and I just went, whoa. Pissed me off.
Well, it's so hurtful. You were hurt.
I felt hurt. So I hurt and angry, yeah. And then she said, well, what if people think you're gay? And that even made me more mad. I said, so? I like gay people. And is there something wrong with being gay? I was like more angry. Because I was like, even if I was, then you should still love me. You're acting like it somehow that would be bad if I was gender and even worse if I was gay. Either of those to me makes me angry. And what if I was? How much more worthless would I feel if you're talking to me like this? And well,
it's a different generation, and we're lucky to have this younger generation teach us differently, and that we're open. Yeah. Because my family wasn't open to this at all. I mean, I had to teach them what was being gay, what gay was all about. I didn't know, but they weren't really all that interested, anyways. And so these kids are lucky in that sense that they're forcing it out, and that's a great thing, I think.
Well, yeah, and I wanted to make one point about being gay. When people say being gay, I always get offended, like with my mom, the problem is it's always seen as a sexual thing. Here's a clue. Gay people have a life outside of sex, like romance and love. That's why I always tell people I don't like just equal marriage. It's equal love. Yeah, a gay person's love is equal, not just a marriage like society is, okay, you're gay and I know you feel bad. We'll kind of make you fit in. We'll let you have marriage certificate. No. Gay people's lives are equal. Gay people's love is equal. Gay people's right in society is equal, not just a marriage certificate to me. And so when someone...
Well, I like what you're saying.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I say the same thing, that people, when they hear gay, they don't hear gay, they hear sex.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't just hear sex, they hear adult sex. And men, when you tell men over 40, really, men hear, I want to be sexual with you. And then right away, that's a whole situation, because so when my nephew was born, I was 34 years old, and I'm holding him. We're passing him around at the birthing. They're saying, oh, he'll meet a nice Jewish woman. We're Jewish. Oh, he'll meet a nice doctor. Oh, he'll become a pilot. I hold him, and I said, maybe he'll meet a nice Jewish boy. And everybody stops, looks at me. Nobody's breathing. And I look up and I say, what's wrong with me thinking that this kid is gay? You're thinking he's straight. It's not anything different but in their mind, it was that I was putting adult sexuality on this little baby.
I love that you bring that up. I never thought about that. Yeah, but my thing is in general, I was thinking adults. I don't think of kids, but yes, that's a great point. But I was just
totally. We don't Yeah, think about this. I love your story about once you learned the word genderqueer, you cried because you knew that was you. We don't teach children in schools at all anything but heterosexuality, cisgender,
Yes.
meaning non-trans, and mononormativity. So you must be heterosexual, and don't think about anything else. You have to be cisgender, and everybody's monogamous. And so until you grow up, they do have this thing called OWL, our whole lives, at the Unitarian Church. And I love this because I get teens that come through my practice who recognize they're not straight because there's sex ed is only about heterosexuality in schools. If there's even any sex ed, they are getting sex ed over bisexuality, lesbianism, transgender, bisexual. It's great, you know.
Well, yeah, it's like a lot of people think that like I've had someone before say, "Well, are you trans?" And I said, "No, I'm genderqueer in my mind. My body feels my body feels fine, even though I do have intersex." Where my body isn't 100, it's like a maybe 90% male, but or maybe less than that, maybe 85 or so, I don't know, but whatever. A certain percentage is male, but it doesn't matter. No matter what my body looks like, I feel fine. What the problem I have is everyone telling me my mind doesn't match my body, and it has to. And I keep going, well, they don't get to tell me how I feel.
No, right. And that's why what they're calling now, they're like therapists are really confused when I train them. They're like, well, what's going on with these kids? And they are trying to break out of labels, but they're creating new labels. And I always say, because everybody today has a boutique identity. A boutique identity means I'm going to grab from here and grab from here, and I'm going to pull from here, and I'm going to tell you who I am. You're not going to put some label on me. I love that. That's the way it should be.
And so I think we're going to have healthier adults because we're helping children to be healthy. Just imagine all the time in my life that I felt shame and guilty, and I tried so hard to fit, and so I could only fit the two things, violence and sex. So I ended up becoming extremely violent, extremely sexual. And really, I was something in between because I was not these extremes.
Yes. No, I totally get it. Religion, like you said, really does the damage here. And I was sitting next to a very religious woman on a plane, and we were having a very nice conversation. She knew I was gay. I knew she was anti-gay. She was like, but it didn't stop us. And she looked at me and she said, "What do you think about all this gender changes and all these gender expressions that are coming out?" And I looked at her, I said, "I think it's a wonderful thing. I think, just like kids have permission to go, what career do I want? This week I want to be a doctor. Next week I want to be a pilot. Next week I want to be in the Olympics. What boyfriend or girlfriend do I want to have? This week I like Mary. Next week I like, Susan." And so now we have this whole gender thing. Why is that any different? Why shouldn't they be able to? And she did not agree with that at all, because in religion, it has to be a certain way. A man, a woman, a sexual orientation has to be straight. I mean, it's done so much damage.
It's toxic. And so since I use the word a lot, I would like you to give for what it means to you, toxic masculinity. And then could you give us, maybe not tell who, but some examples that you've experienced that people that have come to you, clients or somebody that's related to you, because I don't want you to try to out your clients or something, but just, no, I was just saying, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying, just give us, explain it, because I know some people don't understand it. I think that it's like the genderqueer. At first, if I just had to say that, I am that, people are like, so does that mean queer as in gay? I'm like, no, well, but queer as in it doesn't fit your mold. For me, gender being my gender is the issue. Gender queer. My gender does not fit a mold. My gender is not cis. Even though I look right. But see, people go, well, you dress cis, really? I paint my nails. Is that? I love that. I saw that. Yeah. Is that cis? Yeah. I mean, right. Some of the things that I do.
In New York, if you ever go to New York, Manhattan, you see it everywhere. Especially in the places where the salespeople, the men are wearing nails. I love it. So I don't know what I would say. You asked about, what toxic masculinity looks like in my office. I mean, I just know that they don't have permission to bond with other men unless it's through work or sports. I know these are men that don't have the ability to hold their spouses and their partners without it turning sexual, because just staying with the affectional part isn't, it has to move to sex as they're more comfortable with the sex. When they have a partner saying, "Hey, I just want you to hold me. I just want you to love me." I have a lot of people. I think I get more people in therapy that are damaged by toxic masculinity than I do by. right? Because the toxic masculine guys aren't going to enter therapy because they're not allowed to. There's no permission.
Or let's say I did, and you said, what are the problems in your life? I said, I'm too violent. I'm too aggressively sexual. Well, that was not the problem. Really, the problem is I'm thinking with the colored glasses of toxic masculinity. So it's almost like even if someone did, they wouldn't know to ask, hey, I think that shit is affecting my life, because I think that if they really knew that, then they would have more ability to do self-help.
Yeah, right. And usually if they enter into therapy, it's because they've been dragged into therapy by a partner who won't deal with it anymore, or a work situation that demands it, which is sad, but at least they enter into therapy, and hopefully they're going to be more willing to talk about it. But if they do get dragged into therapy, sometimes they're not going to come to me because I'm gay, I'm not, I have all this gender. Like if you came to my office, I don't have it now because we were going to be moving, but I have like celebrity dolls, I have Cher posters, I have, Supremes. If you come in, it's kind of obvious that I'm not a conventional therapist. I'm somebody that is gender open, identity open, that kind of thing.
Right, but I think that at the same time, someone like me now, if I were to go to counseling now, although I've had 20 years of counseling, but I did not realize that gender wasn't part of the problem that I needed to talk about, because I didn't have those words. But that's why I'm just saying now, though, you're the kind of counselor that I would seek out if I was going to, because I want to feel safe. I'm sick of having to gender police myself to make other people, especially a counselor, feel comfortable.
Yeah, the shame. It's so much shame. And, you talk about gender policing. I got to know, there's got to be a word for orientation policing.
Yeah.
People learn to do it on their own. I have people that come in and they say, I'm a straight guy, and I'm cisgender, but I like having men, provide anal intercourse to me. Receiving anal intercourse, or I like giving a blowjob, or I like, and as if the act itself is incongruent with their orientation. And I always have to tell men when they come into my office, they say, I think I must be gay. I like getting anal sex from men. And I joke. I say, look, as a certified sex therapist and a licensed master social worker, I'm here to tell you your anus doesn't have a sexual orientation. It doesn't know whether it's gay, straight, or bi. It knows it's an anus that likes pleasure. And that there's 25% of gay men do not have anal sex. They're not interested in giving it. They're not interested in getting it. And it's not like their butt has something to tell them. Hey, down here, we got news for you. You're really straight. That's why you don't like it down here. It doesn't go that way.
Right.
If people have learned this in religion, I think, and even just in our culture, what you do is who you are, as if gay is a behavior. But I always say, listen, if I never have gay sex for another day in my life, I'm still gay. If straight people never have sex another day in their life, they're still straight. It doesn't fade away.
I know, that reminds me of you saying that. I one time had a sort of debate with a person who was a priest. Because being an atheist, I definitely, and I say that, then people challenge me, even if I don't challenge them. In fact, I have a hat that says atheist, and just walking around, I've been challenged, or told that I have the right to be challenged by wearing that. And I go, yeah, because if you said Christian, you have the right to be challenged. Others have the right to do that, just because you wear that. It doesn't say, it just says atheist. It doesn't even say anything else. That's all it says.
Yeah.
But same thing, I think, with sexuality and gender. Just if you do one thing, they're assuming a baggage of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a projection. So recently, I'll tell you what happened to me. We were going to be moving, but we are not now, and I had to break out of my lease because the term, our center is the Center for Relationship and Sexual Health, and that went up into the directory of the new building as they were building out the suite, and a pediatrician in the building took issue with the term sexual health, and her projection and her story was, you're going to have sex offenders in the building. We don't work with sex offenders. Sex offenders deserve treatment, but we're not trained to work with that. So they said, can you guarantee that you'll never have a sex offender in this building? I said, no more than you can guarantee that any parent that walks in with their child is any less of a sex offender. So back and forth, and we ended up not moving in, all because there was one uncomfortable person in the building who decided that word meant something to her and would affect her business, and wasn't even given a chance to see if that was true. I really think it would have added to her business and added to her ignorance about what sexual health means. And what you're saying is people see a word and a term and they make up a whole backstory.
Exactly.
Because it's really a projection of who they are.
But I was going to say, relating this to our conversation, I was talking to him because I said I was genderqueer. I think he said something. I don't remember how he got on that, but I told him, I don't can't remember. I think he talked about gays wrong or something because he thought I was straight. And I like I said, I actually identify as straight in a sense that I only like women, but how I like them, I wouldn't really call it straight. It's definitely towards women, but it's kind of gendered. I mean, I like them but anyways, whatever. But I told him, because I was arguing with him about it, and I said, so you're saying that you're straight, right? I mean, you told me you have never had sex. Never. And I said, how do you know you're not bi?
Right. Oh, I like that. Nobody's ever said that. I've never heard somebody use that. I mean, I've heard people say, how do you know you're not gay? But nobody's ever said that's excellent. I love that.
Well, because I meant is I don't have to go against his feelings of liking women. But how do you know you don't like men?
Yeah.
And it rocked his world. He's like, well, that's why I have God. He couldn't, because he didn't have a good defense for that one.
No. I'll tell you what, people come up to me at my talks and they'll say, I really relate to the religious abuse you're talking about the LGBTQ communities had because I was taught that masturbation was a sin and I was taught sex outside of marriage was a sin, and I say, I gotta stop you. Because yes, I know you were taught that and that's religious shame, but those are behaviors, and when you're in church and your minister says, or synagogue, that who you are, not what you do, LGBT is who we are, is an abomination, and that we don't even have God to talk to about who we are, not what we do, that's not just religious shame. That's destruction. That's like erasure and invisibility that we don't even exist. And so I just think that you can't compare the two. I think it's worse for when it's who you are and you're told, not only don't you exist, but if you even think you do, you don't even have God to talk to.
Yeah. Well, you lose even God's love. As if somehow a loving God would be that way. That just because, I mean, if it was, I don't believe in a God, but if a God was real and didn't love gay people, I couldn't love that God because
I know.
You're telling me that these are people that are created and yet somehow you don't already love them. It just.
I've had so many people in my practice who've been abused by religion, and in fact have been like, I just had something happen to a friend where they asked him to leave because they knew he was gay and they knew that he was pro-gay rights, and they said it's incompatible with our religious beliefs. So I've had people come and I'm not a priest, I'm not a rabbi, I'm not a minister, but they come to me for counseling around their religion because they can't go to their own minister. So I was on that plane I was telling you about, and I was talking to this woman, and I looked at her, I said, we're having this conversation, we can have our differences. I don't like what you're saying, and I don't think I would have a strong friendship with you, but I don't have to annihilate you. I said, but I was a Baptist, and she was a Billy Graham follower. She was like in that camp, whatever that means, I don't know. And so
evangelical,
I said to her, this whole, what's that?
I said evangelical.
Yeah, yes, evangelical. And I said to her, so this whole Religious Freedom Act is coming up, where Baker is saying, I don't want to make a cake, it goes against my religious beliefs. I said, so I looked at her, I said, would you do that too? Is that how you feel? And she said, no, I would totally bake a cake for you. She knew I was Jewish, and she said, I would totally bake a cake for you.
Yeah.
And I said, thank you. I said, that, and she said, I just wouldn't bake a cake for a gay Christian. Oh. And I said, what? And I said, I don't understand that. And she then started to explain to me that for me, I have no ability to be saved. I'm Jewish. So
oh my gosh.
But for, I know, everybody I tell this to that has any kind of religious upbringing has the same reaction you're having. I had the reaction of confusion, but what she's saying is that, if you can be saved and you're choosing not to, I can't make a cake for you. You don't exist. And that's just the abuse and her not understanding. And I have this I could talk on and on. We're going to have to stop in a few minutes because I have another client, but I wanted to say, my thing about this whole Religious Freedom Act is, whose religious freedom, whose decision, and are you going to be able to cherry pick? So the baker's saying, I'm not going to do gay marriage, but I'll do, if you're an adulterer, come on in. If you've had multiple divorces, come on in. But gay, sorry, that's not okay.
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
Well, I don't understand, too, because lying is one of the biggest things to go to hell. Actually, way before, sexuality is not really even mentioned as a thing going to hell, no matter what the reason. And just think, I mean, how many wives did Solomon have? I mean, this thought of this puritanical, monogamous, you know, only one type of marriage was not even biblical. I mean, it's not what happened. That's not what they did. And even like when they talk about stoning the woman, Jesus helps, you know, in the Bible. When it does that, it's not saying stone the man and the woman, only the woman. The man wasn't going to get killed. The man only was killed if the woman was property. If she wasn't betrothed to anyone, then there was no violation on his side, which is sexist as hell.
There are 9 countries that still exist in this world that if the woman cheats, she can be burned or stoned to death.
Disgusting.
So we have so much that we could be talking about here. But what I love about this generation and this where we're heading, and I think the internet has been very helpful in giving voices to these people, is people are saying no more. You're not going to put me in a box. I'm going to tell you who I am and what I like. And you may not like it, and good for you, but I do like it. And I felt that way when I came out. It was the 70s for me, and I felt that way. I didn't feel
You're a champion.
What's that? I
said you're a champion.
Yeah, I really feel like, but I did do one thing to myself that I regret, and that and I think I just did it because it was all I knew. I lived a heterosexual gay life for a long time. So I came out gay and said, don't put me in a box, but then I put myself in a heterosexual box. I got married. I mean, I'm happy. I'm married to my husband for 25 years. We had a wedding. I remember thinking, I'm going to do everything my sister does. If she has a boyfriend, I'm going to have a boyfriend.
Oh.
If they're going to come over, I want it all the same. Yeah. But as I got older, in my 40s, I'm like, okay, that's nice, but I want more than that.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily in anybody's box. And I changed.
Well, exactly. My same script. If you're heterosexual, it has to be monogamous. I'm in an open relationship. I've been now for over 10 years. And it's wonderful and loving. My mom hates that she's Christian and follows all the rules and is unhappy in her marriage, sort of. I mean, they have times up and down. I don't want to say that it's just a bad marriage.
Sure.
So I don't want to be shaming my mom. She's not. But I'm just saying, compared to me, our relationship is so much more like friendly and happy and loving. And yet it's not monogamous. But it doesn't take that to have love. Like you were saying, once again, behavior and feelings are not always the same.
You know, here's a final thought here, that we know more about infidelity and we pay more money and attention and to research on infidelity than we do on people like yourself who are polyamory, open, consensual, ethical, honest. Nobody cares about you.
They act like they don't exist. Or somehow you have to be unhealthy. You have to be mentally unhealthy if you do exist. Same thing about gay. If you're gay, you're unhealthy. Like, why? Because gay is natural. Right. I mean, it's like saying you're born, with a desire to do anything. I really appreciate your time. Could you go ahead and plug yourself for the listeners? And trust me, he's a lot more wonderful even than he sounds here. Go watch his videos. I'm very impressed. I appreciate what you do. You're helping people like me and other people. We need to break all these boxes.
Yeah, thank you. You're doing the same. Listen, I really appreciate your support of my work. So I've written these 4 books. They can find them on my website, Kort, JOEKORT.com. If they don't want to read the book, if they don't want to buy the book, is my husband gay, they can go to my website. I have about straight men attracted to sex with men, and it's straight guys, GUISE, straightguys.com. And I did that because it's really gay guys, but I didn't think straight men or even women that are in love with straight men would go to it. And that's kind of what I've been doing and presenting, and I want to do more writing. And I just feel really strongly about sexual health, gender health, and really what you're sort of like the mirror of me, only in the gender realm.
Right. Exactly.
And that's why you probably see whatever you see in me, because it's in you.
Thank you. I appreciate that for the acknowledgement. Well, everybody, it's been wonderful, and have a great day.